Let's talk about who I would cast in the ACOTAR series if I was the casting director. There are 3 things we need to make sure that we are very clear on before we begin today. There will be spoilers, so if you have not finished the series, you really shouldn't be watching this. Mind you, they're going to be really minor spoilers, so it won't be the end of the world if you decide to listen anyways, but you have been warned. Next, I will not be casting any influencers or singers. I will only be casting actual actors to play acting roles. And last but not least, you will not catch me casting 30-year-old people to play 18-year-olds. I feel like that's something really common right now in a lot of these dream casts, and it's extremely unrealistic. Now, we are just going to start with the ACOTAR sisters. There were a lot of really good options for every single one of the sisters. I really just wanted to make sure that all 3 of them actually looked like they could be sisters, but would also play the role very, very well. Let's start with Farah. Farah, I've actually casted as Freya Allen. I know I technically cast her as my second option for Aelin, but she is definitely my first choice for Farah. She looks the part, she would do it so well. And here's something really important that I feel like a lot of people don't consider. We need to cast someone who will look really good as a human, but also really good as Fae. And I feel like something about Freya Allen's features, she can do like little meek, weak human being, but then she can also do super powerful Fae. Then next is Elaine, and I feel like this is not a really unique casting, especially since the most recent episode of Bridgerton came out. She's been a really popular choice for Elaine. I've gone with Hannah Dodd. Not only does she look exactly how Elaine is, she has that really nice whimsical, like zoned out kind of personality, and I feel like when we get to see her post Cauldron be in her own little world and not mentally there, I feel like Hannah could really pull that off. Then of course Nesta, there were tons of good options, and honestly one of the more popular Nesta options I've actually put down is Moore. So for Nesta, I've actually gone with Madeline Klein. I know that there are a lot of people who hate that casting, but look at all 3 of these girls next to each other and tell me they're not sisters, and tell me they don't reflect exactly what their personalities are. Now let's jump to our spring court fellows. First is Tamlin, and I'm going with Luke Eisner. Honestly, he just looks like Tamlin. Obviously, there's so many great options for Tamlin, but they're all in their 40s. And before someone chimes into the comments and says that these men are supposed to be 500 years old, so it's fine if we cast someone who's 40, literally go back, read this book, and read the chapter where Farah sees Tamlin in his Fae form for the first time, and she literally says he looked like he could have been no older than his mid-20s. So if we're gonna stick true to the book, I'm sticking with younger men, even for the Fae. Mind you, I'm not gonna pick scrawny little teenage boys. I'm definitely gonna stay to the mid-20s range. Now for Lucian. This one's really hard, and I had this issue with Bryce Quinlan as well, so hit subscribe if you're interested in seeing my Crescent City Dreamcast when it comes out. Sarah J. Maas has this obsession with redheads who are insanely tan, which is great. I love that. It's very aesthetically pleasing when you look at it in all the fan art, but human beings like that just don't exist. But I could see Brenton Thwaites with red hair and a scar down his face, and I could see him making a pretty good Lucian. I do think he would need to bulk up a little bit, but I also recognize this is an older photo and he hasn't really been in anything recently, so I don't know what he looks like today, but I think he looks a little bit older now, I'm assuming. I feel so silly saying this. I'll be honest right now, my Rowan casting and my Rhysand casting are exactly the same because I genuinely cannot find a man out there who could play Rhysand. Yeah, there's a lot of good options out there, but there's no amazing options. There's nothing that really catches my eye. Unless someone can get a time machine, make Henry Cavill 25 again, and then cast him in this film, there's never gonna be a better option, frankly. So I just went for Ben Barnes again. I feel like that's an easy out. And even then, I think Ben Barnes might be a little too old. So this is kind of the point where I am begging you to please put in the comments your favorite Rhysand castings, because I'm like desperately searching for a better casting. And while we're on Rhysand, let's just go through the rest of the inner circle. For Cassian, this is also a pretty viral one that's been online recently. Do you remember this guy from Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire? Well, this is him now. Tell me that Stanislav Janewski, and my Polish husband is probably dying inside at my pronunciation of that, but tell me that this man is not Cassian. He's perfect for Cassian. You know who else is perfect for Azriel? Logan Lerman. Like, listen, I feel like it would be so good to have Logan Lerman and ACOTAR because I feel like the same girlies who are obsessed with ACOTAR were obsessed with Percy Jackson when they were younger. I feel like it would be a nice full circle moment. Would Logan Lerman make a good Rhysand? Would Logan Lerman make a good Rhysand? I'm gonna sit on that thought for a little bit. Next is Morgan, and I will say one of my top choices for this one was Florence Pugh, just because of her acting abilities, and I genuinely believe that the next ACOTAR book is going to give us a lot more on Morgan, and I actually love the theories that Morgan isn't a fully good person. I think that there's going to be some betrayal. I think she's lying to us. I think it's sketchy that we don't know the full extent of her power. I could get really, really into that. So I think Florence Pugh could play that really, really well. But what I will ask you to consider, because of some drama going on Instagram and Claire Holt practically dropping hints that she's been asked to read the ACOTAR books, why do you think such a big actress would be asked to read a book of something that is widely known to be trying to be turned into a TV show adaptation? I don't think Claire Holt could play any other character than Morgan, frankly. I know some people are like, oh, she's Farah. No, they're not going to cast Claire Holt as Farah unless they decide that Farah needs to be 25 or 30. They're just not going to do that. Then for Amryn, I actually was inspired by a TV show my husband watched, and I saw this girl come on screen, and I knew she was my Amryn. Anna Sawai. And I hope I'm saying that last name right, but she is stunning. I feel like they could really exaggerate her sharp features and make her even more menacing, which is perfect for Amryn. And now let's get into our villains, because I love our villains. First, we have Amarantha, and here, I'm not 100% obsessed with this. To me, this is like a full circle moment, because one of my favorite villains of all time is Morgana from Merlin. So I would love to see Katie McGrath pull out an Amarantha. I also feel like a lot of people are throwing out big A-list actresses like Angelina Jolie and Megan Fox, and honestly, those are all really great options, but I would like to see someone play Amarantha who isn't already like a huge, well-established actress. Not that Katie McGrath isn't well-established, but I think she's super established for British television. Next, for the King of Highburn, Christian Bale. I would love to see Christian Bale play the King of Highburn. I don't know what it is. I just feel like he makes every movie better. I would love to see him in this TV show. And I know he's a bigger actor, so the chances of him saying yes to such a strung-out TV show is low. But in reality, the King of Highburn doesn't have that much screen time. We just talk about him a lot, so I feel like he would be willing to commit if it's not a huge time commitment for him. So just a thought. Then for Ianthe, this one was a really hard one, surprisingly, for me. I threw around a lot of ideas in my head, and I actually came down to McKenna Grace. Hear me out. She has been a child actor her whole life. She's literally been in, 36 movies, always playing the younger version of another actress, or she's just playing a super, super young kid. Now that she's an adult, I think that Ianthe would be an amazing adult role for her to play, and we can see her break free of that child actor stereotype. So that would be really cool to see. Then I had 3 bonus characters, let's call them. They didn't really fit in a category, but I just really wanted to include them. For Father Archeron, I have Sheen Bean. Just kidding, it's Sean Bean, but look at the way it's spelled. Do you not want to say Sheen Bean? Sean Bean. Not for any particular reason, frankly. I just think that, first of all, he could pass as those 3 girls' dad, but on top of that, I feel like he would play like the no-good drunkard really well, but then also the loving, doting father with his redemption arc really well, so I would just be interested to see him play that dynamic. Then for Gwen, I also did Abby Cohen. Technically already casted her in Throne of Glass, but I am just dying to see this girl in something else other than the horrible TV show that was Fate Winx Saga. She's honestly such an underestimated actress. Honestly, I think that's the only really big thing she's ever done. But to see such a great actress in something that's actually going to be successful, I feel like would be really cool and groundbreaking in her career. Then for Emery, I have Naomi Scott, which if you don't know, she's the She's So Gone from Lemonade Mouth Girl, but I think she also played Jasmine in the live action Aladdin, so Were you a Disney Channel kid or were you a Disney kid? That's the real question. How do you know her? I know that's not a lot of characters coming from Throne of Glass, but honestly, Throne of Glass just has a crazy ton of characters. But please let me know if there's any other characters you want me to cast. If you guys give me enough names, I might make a part 2. Also, if you have any other suggestions for Resand, please let me know because I could really use some more suggestions. And that is that. So why don't you subscribe so you can get notified when my Crescent City Dreamcast drops, or in the meantime, you can watch my playlist all about the Sarah J. Maasverse.